Hello, everyone. It's so good to be with you here. It's been a while since I've made a video update to my YouTube channel, and I've been feeling the call for some time, so I guess today is the day. And really, my intention for making this video is to feed, nurture, and nourish the threads of connection that the Kontomblé are sending out into the world through all of us, through many of us, and also through my work with them. So at the end of this video, I will be sharing a small excerpt of a divination of a message that they wanted to bring through for all of you. And in this message, they are talking about this what they've been calling elemental guardianship, and what elemental guardianship means to them through their eyes. And elemental guardianship is also the name of my most recent container and program of study and exploration into elemental ritual and the elemental self. So just so you know, that's what's coming at the end. And the message is really universal in nature, so it's for everyone, whether or not you decide to go forward with studying in the program or not. There might be something for you in this message. So I do encourage you to listen through till the end. And one of the things that they were speaking about that I feel is very I'm going to say prevalent to these times, and felt like one of the biggest messages that really struck a chord with me was how important it is that we really anchor in to Mother Earth's true frequency and Mother Earth's true timeline every day. So what does this mean? Well, they were talking about how the mantle of Mother Earth is shifting so much at this time that quite literally the tectonic plates and the mantle, the crust of the earth and the bottom of the ocean floor, it's going through a lot of changes right now as we're going through this big birthing portal. And simultaneously, the atmosphere is going through a lot of changes, right? There's changes in the atmospheric pressure. There's changes happening on a much larger universal scale with the sun and all the solar flares that we've been experiencing. And if you go beyond, even further beyond that, there's been changes on a more like celestial scale, like a more intergalactic scale is the term that's coming forward. And so something that the Kontomblé have been speaking about is like, how do we come to recognize and how do we come to acknowledge the cosmic weather and how the cosmic weather is affecting our more local earth-born weather. And so I know that can seem, that's quite literally far out, right? It's far out from right here, right now, this moment in your body. But I start with that because all of those things are affecting us. And if you're a very sensitive person, like myself, a highly sensitive person, chances are you are if you're even watching this, it's important to ground every day and to anchor in to Mother Earth's frequency, to Mother Earth's timeline, because it's her dream and it's her vision that really many of us are here to steward into being right now. That's a lot of us, that's our life purpose, it's our mission, it's why we're here during these times. And there can be a lot of distractions and interactions and fractions of of our wholeness of self each day. And so one of the ways that I love to anchor into Mother Earth's frequency and timeline is just by very simply sitting in meditation and sending a grounding cord down and visualizing that grounding cord and visualizing those grounding roots going all the way down through all the layers of the earth, and then just anchoring me deeply into her center, and knowing that that is a source aligned center, and that by anchoring into Mother Earth, that is going to be our greatest measure of discernment that when we anchor into the earth, we also anchor into our bodies. And so to rely on that and to also build up build up relationship to that through practice every day. And so being an elemental guardian is about tending to those relationships. And we do that first by tending to our relationship to the self. That if we're not taking care of self, if we're not allowing ourselves to step upon the path toward wholeness, that we're not going to be able to be of service in a very useful way or manner if we're trying to help other people, or if we're trying to help the collective or the earth, or the beings of nature, what have you. And it's very important to care about these things and to tend to these things by building relationship, but by recognizing that like building the relationship is one of the ways that we also take care of self, right? So what do I mean by that? Like an example I could use is it's like any relationship. Like if you have a relationship with a sister or a friend where it's always you give, but you never receive, right? That's going to be out of balance. And I think one of the things, ironically, that a lot of people who care about the earth and see themselves as stewards and priests and priestesses of the earth, that they can kind of get lost in this pattern sometimes of giving at their own expense to a cause that's bigger than themselves. And when we do that, we lose ourselves. And there's a difference between losing the self as a way to sacrifice the ego of our smaller human and welcome in the ego of the divine, or to welcome in the divine will. That's of course a part of the oracular path, the path of the teacher, the channel, the earth priest and priestess. There's always going to be some element of self-sacrifice where we allow that lower, smaller aspect of ourselves to die for this grander aspect to be birthed through. Yes. However, sometimes the shadow can hide out in that pattern. And what happens is people like this, sensitives, they get used to giving to others, whether it's humans or a cause that they're devoted to, at their own expense. So really what I'm talking about is this archetype of the martyr, and a journey that I've been on personally for the past, well, I was going to say for the past few years, but quite honestly, it's likely been lifetimes, is this journey of really shedding the costume, or shedding the cape, or shedding the identity of the martyr, the one who saves at their own expense, the one who like this savior kind of complex or idea, like the one who helps others but it hurts them. Shedding that and really stepping into the archetype of the priestess, which is one that is anchored in wholeness, anchored in reciprocity, and anchored in complete partnership and interdependence with the earth and all of her beings of creation. And so it's about surpassing codependence, or even independence, which is still a division from or a separation from, and entering complete interdependence. And one of the things that I've been reflecting on lately is how this, I want to say, I've been reflecting on how this journey from the martyr to the priest or the priestess, it's something that many of us are going through, because the martyr itself is a distorted archetype. it was something that came into being because it had a purpose during its time, but its paradigm is no more. The paradigm of the martyr is no more. And so if you're trying to function from those programs, it's not going to be very effective right now. Because it's like trying to basically plug, a puzzle piece into a puzzle that doesn't exist anymore. And so you've got to reconfigure the puzzle piece that you be to this new paradigmless puzzle in a way. And the thing about that is it's not about the one anymore. It's about the we. It's about all of us together. We're all pieces of the puzzle, and we all discover what this puzzle of Mother Earth's dream that we're birthing into being is. We discover that through collaboration and co-creation with the elements, with the beings of the earth, and with the Earth Mother herself. So again, one of these things that I've been reflecting on is how the oracle, the archetype of the oracle, the archetype of the priest, of the priestess, and I'm not talking about a priest or priestess anchored in any type of ideology or religion other than the true nature of the earth. It's how these archetypes became distorted over time and warped into the archetype of the martyr. And that's how those programs kind of set in. And to say a little bit more about that is to really, go into probably a complex and quite thorough revision and visitation of our true herstory. But ultimately, what it comes down to is that at very important points throughout our herstory, there were these kind of pinnacles of opportunities for consciousness to expand or consciousness to contract. And we have been going through a lot of contraction. And a lot of that contraction, well, up until recently, now we're in a place of expansion, but I'm talking about like for tens of thousands of years up until very recently, that falling into greater and greater density was being mirrored in the way that the feminine was treated, and the way that in particular, the divine feminine, as exemplified and expressed through the archetypes of the oracle and the priests and priestess, were exploited, were annihilated, were erased, were violently abolished, I'll say. And so the raping of the priestesses and the oracles, the division that was seated in the temples, the division that entered into what then became religion, right? What then became dogma, what then became an infrastructure for destruction, rather than really a sacred space for creation and birth. So, like I said, it can go quite deep, but this is what I've been reflecting on. And what's come forward with these reflections is how important it is that we take care of ourselves during this time, that we invite ourselves into greater and greater wholeness, that we remember that we are divine, that we remember that we are holy, and not ever at the expense of ourselves or anyone else, to enter into that true state of humility where we can remember our divinity through our interconnectedness to all things without needing to prove anything or to make one better than the other, to know that we're all here doing this together, and that it's also okay for us to share our gifts. In fact, our sharing of our gifts and sharing of our voices is so important at this time. So, this is really what I've been reflecting on and what I wanted to share with you all about. And there's one more thing that I'll say about my own personal journey and something mm, that was shared with me recently from a dear friend and another diviner was she was talking about how part of my medicine in the world is to help others through the grief of this birth that we're moving through as a collective, and the grief that we need to move through when we're facing the unknown, and how many of us are like babies in the birth canal. We don't realize that we're all the baby, like the whole earth is the baby, and we're right in the middle of the birth canal. And so, what leaders and stewards are being asked to do right now is to, like, hey, hey, everyone, it's okay. We are all facing this unknown together, and it might be really like fucking scary, but we can do it. Like, we got this. We got this. And to be okay with that grief that comes up from these discarded and fractured parts of ourselves that we were made to cast away to survive. Um, that those are the pieces that we need to call back now to enter into a wholeness, um, cooperatively, co-willingly with our communities. So, and why a part of why this medicine of the grief through the birth is unique to me is because of my own birthing experience. And if you haven't done this yet, going back to the story of your birth will likely hold some type of medicine for you to reflect upon. It will likely hold some clue about your passageway. Your passageway into this reality will likely hold some clue for you about your passageway through this entire lifetime. And a lot of that is because it's one of the first initiations we go through in modern times, with the lack of true ancient ways of birthing and true ancient ways of bringing children into this world, because there's a lack of that. There has been for so long, that a lot of what we experience actually contains something in it that is a clue. And so for me, my clue, which is more than just a small little one, maybe quite a big obvious one, is that when I was born and when I went through the birth canal, my spine broke. I had a spinal injury and a fracture that started in the womb and kind of intensified while being born through the birth canal. And then I had to live the first 20 years of my life not even knowing about it. I didn't even find out about the fracture that happened at birth until I was in my early 20s. So I was living in this great darkness with myself and very disembodied. And I went through this big initiation of coming back to myself, coming back to my body over the period of a few years while in theater school and studying acting and studying the art form of being embodied. And it wasn't till after finishing my school that I found out that I had this fracture, and finally it made sense why I'd felt always so different from everyone, why I'd felt like I was on my own island, separated away, and that things that were so easy for people were very hard for me, because the fracture had created so much pain and such a heightened sensitivity that I'd quite literally have to like spend hours doing gentle movement and stretches each day to just feel like I could get through the day. And so on this journey of healing my spinal fracture and healing my birth story, I've learned that my ability to hold myself through that story and through that journey is one of my gifts now, because I could hold myself through that. Now I have the patience, the tolerance, the wherewithal, the sensitivity the wisdom that is now embodied. And then also I want to say like the gratitude mixed with the like just feeling humbled by it all, to also hold that space for others and to start to guide them through their births, or to guide the collective through our births. And this is what is being asked of leaders and stewards at this time. So your little clue and invitation today is to really go back to your birth story, see what clues are there for you, what they tell you about your medicine, and to investigate that in your heart, and without a need to figure it out, but just as an invitation to reflect and maybe come to a place of a deeper recognition of self and a place of deeper peace within. So that's my prayer for you all today. Thank you for listening to my story and listening to what's been on my heart and mind and soul. I hope that you enjoy the message from the Kontomblé, and a great way to begin listening to them, if this is new for you, if hearing from them is new for you, is to just go ahead and pause the video, set out some offerings for them. They love honey, they love sweets. You can also do milk or a bowl of water that you then pour into the earth afterward. They love spirits. Set out some offerings for them and sit back and just allow it to wash over you, and see what it awakens in you, and see what it inspires in you. And then maybe let those little seeds be planted and nurtured, and see where that takes you in time. All right, my dears, thank you so much. So much love to you all. Mwah. Thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. We're saying the ocean, the ocean, the ocean, the ocean, the ocean. It's spilling out of my womb. The ocean and my womb are one. They say when your womb is anchored in the ocean, you can then scan the ocean for any snakes and dragons. You can then feel into your spine for any hooks to wagons. Hooks to wagons. Hooks to wagons. They say, what's the difference between a wagon and a dragon? What's the difference between a wagon and a dragon? The dragon is wagging its tail, and the wagon is dragging you on. They say the dragon is wagging its tail, and the wagon is dragging you down. So they say, bury all that you've carried underground with your blood as it flows into the earth. And open your crown to the fruits that are buried in the ground as you bring through the fertile seeds of the fisher. The fertile seeds of the fisherman's father. They say the fertile seeds of the fisherman's father. They swim through the waters, they swim through the waters, they swim through the waters of Mother Earth's ocean. Also known as her mantle, her mantle, her mantle. They say, what do the mantle and the atmosphere have in common? What do the mantle and the atmosphere have in common? Both are constantly shifting and changing. They say this is why it's so important that we anchor in to the truth of the mother every single day. They say every single day. Anchor into the heart of the mother. And she'll show you the way. She'll show you the way. She'll show you the way. She won't tow you along in a tugboat. No. She counts on you to use your own 2 arms to swim. She counts on you to grow your gills and your fins. They say the human beings have forgotten that they too are amorphous creatures. They say humanity has forgotten. Humanity has forgotten. Humanity has forgotten its amphibian features. They say, remember, you too were born from the heart of a dragon. And so don't be dragging on the wagon of your past hurts and pains. No. Remember that the egg is in the atmosphere. And that egg can never be cracked. They say because it's being birthed, that's being birthed, that's being birthed. At the hands of the Father. Through the mantle of the Mother. And so they're saying like elemental guardianship, elemental guardianship, elemental guardianship. It's about anchoring ourselves into the heart of the Mother every day. Elemental guardianship, elemental guardianship, elemental guardianship. It's about remembering that it's safe to play. It's safe to play. And not only is it safe, but it's necessary. They say if lately it's felt scary to play, you need to chase everything that's made you feel unsafe away. As in put on the wings. The wings that bat away. The voices and the choices of adversity. And they're saying like Pegasus, he didn't always know he had wings. Until one day he was galloping so fast he started flying. They say you humans, you're galloping so fast, running and running and running around in circles. But you haven't remembered your wings. They say you need to reach that still point of the center. The center that lives in the heart of the earth. They say enter the center of the heart of the earth. Enter the center. Don't cement her. Don't cement her. Don't cement her. They say don't cement her at the center. No, they sent her away. They sent her away. They sent her away and then they cemented her. Who? Mother Earth. They say enter the center of the truth in your womb, in your heart. They say as the planes are shifting, as the plates are shifting, so are our brains shifting. As the planes are shifting, so are our brains are shifting. And it seems that the games are shifting too. They say don't let the they say like don't let the false realities get its grip on you. They say the false realities play a never-ending game. The game that points the finger of shame, of blame, of shame, of blame, of shame, of blame. They say for every wave and ripple of shame and blame that moves through you, that it's an opportunity to anchor into the center of the earth and see how they cemented her and how they sent her away. And they're talking about how these ripples of shame and blame, a lot of them have been turned into a game of artificial nature. And so when we're getting sent on these emotional downward spirals, to take a moment to take a step back and really listen, really center, and see if they have sent her away from you. her being the rightful path of the mother. And so they're saying that there's an intelligence in our heart that can outsmart any intelligence of any intelligence that's artificial in nature. They say if you're feeling artificial in nature, you need to get in touch with your true nature. You need to look into the mirror of the earth and see that what's being reflected back is her birth into an entirely new way of being. And the Kontomble, they're asking, like, will we be so brave? Will we be so brave to step forward into this new way of being without even knowing what it could possibly look like? Will they encourage us to do this? They say, like, if we can do it, you can too. It's together that we make it through. The starlit web being woven by the hands of the grandmothers and grandfathers. They say by the weavers of fate who keep the gateways of initiation open and calling us home. And so this grandmother, she's saying, like, open your heart, open your ears, open your eyes too. The integrity present in each of the elements. Each one is a gateway calling you into they say, like a freeway of existence. Each one is a gateway calling you into a free way of existence. So they say, get on the freeway. Get on the free way of existence and exist freely. With your heart beating strong. So that's what they want us to know. That's what they want to say to us today. To get on the freeway and let our hearts beat strong. To let our hot wheels spin fast. But always, always, always anchored in the heart of the mother. Thank you, Kontomble. Thank you.